They whisper that your silence is weakness, that your observation is hesitation. They mistake your patience for passivity, comfortable in the belief that the quiet man in the corner is a harmless man. They have no idea that they are standing on the shoreline, oblivious to the tectonic shift happening beneath the waves, a tsunami of focused intent gathering its monumental power. Welcome to the Sigma male community, the one place that understands that the most dangerous man is not the one who shouts his intentions to the world, but the one who has mastered the art of moving in silence, the man who has learned to harness the storm within. We are not here to seek validation or to play by the rules of a broken system. We are here to understand the mechanics of power, the architecture of self-mastery, and the moment when a man decides that navigating the game is no longer enough, and that it is time to rewrite the rules entirely. Today we delve into the phenomenon that the world dreads and the wise respect. What truly happens when a Sigma male finally decides to go full savage mode? 1. The apex strategist emerges. Forget the simplistic and often misunderstood lone wolf trope that society lazily slaps onto men who walk their own path. When a Sigma male enters what can only be described as savage mode, he doesn't just isolate himself. He transcends the very battlefield he is on, transforming into a grandmaster playing a game of four-dimensional chess on a board of his own intricate design. Every action he takes becomes a calculated gambit, a deliberate move with cascading consequences that he has already mapped out. Every silence is no longer an absence of words, but a loaded, tactical pause, compelling his adversaries to reveal their own hands. He doesn't just observe, he dissects the very fabric of the systems around him, the predictable patterns of human behavior, the inherent weaknesses in hierarchies, the hidden leverage points that everyone else overlooks. He is not preparing to react to the world. He is positioning himself to fundamentally reshape his reality. In this heightened state of awareness, the clumsy attempts at manipulation by others become pathetic parlor tricks, easily deconstructed and dismissed. The rigged systems and social games designed to keep men in their place become nothing more than stepping stones, which he exploits with an icy surgical precision. Victory for him is not a loud, boisterous declaration. It is a silent, inevitable conclusion that was engineered weeks, months, or even years in advance. He moves his pieces on the board, positioning allies and neutralizing threats, often without them ever realizing they are part of a larger strategy. He anticipates attacks before they are even conceived and dismantles entire campaigns without ever firing a single overt shot. The true source of this terrifying brilliance lies in his profound detachment, a stoic calm that allows him to operate with the efficiency of a surgeon, untouched and unmoved by petty conflicts or the draining emotional gambits that ensnare lesser men. He leaves his opponents bewildered, standing in the wreckage of a game they didn't even realize they had already lost, because the results speak for themselves long before he ever needs to. 2. Relentless execution replaces hesitation. The moment the strategic vision crystallizes in his mind, savage mode ignites a ruthless, unrelenting engine of pure action. The phase of observation is over, and the time for execution begins with a ferocity that shocks the unprepared. In this state, the need for external permission becomes an alien concept. It is utterly unnecessary. The desire for social approval is not just ignored, it is seen as irrelevant, a currency for those who lack internal validation. The compulsion to explain himself or justify his actions is a luxury he cannot afford, a weakness reserved for those who still seek consensus. He begins to move with the terrifying certainty and unstoppable force of a natural law, like gravity or the turning of the tides. His dreams are no longer whispered into the void of wishful thinking, they are forged in the white-hot fire of immediate, uncompromising and relentless effort. The very notion of compromise evaporates, and mediocrity is incinerated in the powerful wake of his forward thrust. You can witness this transformation in the way he dismantles the obstacles in his path with a cold, methodical precision. Ties to unworthy or draining individuals are severed without ceremony or apology. Disciplines that were once challenging are now embraced like impenetrable armor. Old identities that no longer serve his ultimate purpose are shed and rebuilt overnight, like a serpent shedding its skin. While the rest of the world is drowning in the quicksand of analysis paralysis, endlessly debating the pros and cons, or diluting their goals to soothe the fragile egos of those around them, the Sigma in savage mode operates at terminal velocity. He doesn't waste time trying to navigate the existing current. He becomes the current, carving a new, more direct channel through the landscape of what is possible. Any resistance he encounters is not seen as a barrier but as fuel, strengthening his resolve and sharpening his focus. The world scrambles to comprehend the sheer force that has been unleashed when a patient man's patience finally shatters. 3. Misunderstanding becomes a strategic weapon. The Sigma male in savage mode consciously discards the exhausting and utterly pointless chore of correcting the shallow perceptions others have of him. He actively lets them underestimate him. Let them label him as aloof, disconnected, weak, or arrogant. Their lazy, simplistic pigeonholing is no longer an insult to be corrected. It becomes his greatest camouflage. Their confusion is the dense fog of war that he moves through entirely unseen, their ignorance providing the perfect cover for his operations. While they are busy dissecting the carefully constructed illusion he presents to the world, he is quietly building empires in the shadows, leveraging their intellectual laziness as a form of operational security. Their inability to see him clearly is a resource he exploits with masterful skill, allowing him to work unimpeded towards his ultimate objectives. This is not a passive act of indifference. It is a highly advanced form of psychological warfare. He may even subtly encourage their misinterpretations, knowing full well that the moment they finally grasp the true scope of his capacity and the depth of his ambition, the game will already be over. Their belated realization, the profound shock of having so catastrophically underestimated him, is the sweetest and most silent form of victory. The vast amounts of energy they waste trying to figure him out is energy that is diverted away from obstructing his path. By the time the mask finally slips, revealing the disciplined and formidable predator that was lurking beneath the surface all along, he has already ascended to a level far beyond their reach, leaving behind nothing but the faint echo of their own fatal miscalculation. 4. The death knell for mediocrity. The activation of savage mode sounds the definitive extinction event for anything and everything in his life that falls short of excellence. His tolerance for half measures, for lukewarm and uninspired effort, or for the comfortable, soul-crushing stagnation that defines modern life is not just lowered, it is annihilated completely. His personal standards transform into an event horizon, a point of no return from which nothing can escape. Everything and everyone within his orbit must now achieve a state of brilliance and utility, or they will face an immediate and silent deletion from his reality. His career, his relationships, his daily habits, his physical regimen, all of it is passed through this unforgiving and uncompromising filter, where only the potent and the purposeful survive. This ruthless purge is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of evolutionary necessity. He understands a fundamental truth that most people refuse to accept, that compromise is the cancer of all human potential. And so, out go the draining friendships that offer no loyalty or intellectual stimulation. Out go the unchallenging job roles that provide a paycheck but starve his soul. Out go the comfortable routines that do not serve the apex version of himself that he is striving to become. He begins to demand exponential growth from himself and his surroundings, not the slow, incremental comfort that lulls men into a state of quiet desperation. The result of this purge is a life that is distilled to its purest and most potent form. His connections become rare but incredibly profound, his work achieves a level of mastery, and every single action he takes crackles with a focused, undeniable energy. For him, settling is the ultimate defeat, and savage mode declares its victory by eradicating the very possibility of it from his life. 5. The scalpel of unfiltered truth. The era of him patiently coddling fragile illusions and tiptoeing around uncomfortable realities is officially over. When in savage mode, the Sigma male wields truth not as a blunt instrument to bash others with, but as a surgeon's scalpel, precise, cold, and devastatingly effective in its application. With this scalpel, he meticulously dismantles the flimsy excuses that people build around their failures. He exposes incompetence with a laser-guided clarity that leaves no room for debate. He shatters the comfortable self-deceptions that people use to shield themselves from the harshness of their own mediocrity. There is no more nodding along to nonsensical arguments to keep the peace, no more softening the blow for egos that are built on foundations of sand. He becomes the walking, talking antidote to a world that is drowning in a sea of enabling lies and hollow, unearned validation. This surgical application of honesty is not designed to inflict pain for its own sake. It is designed to excise the malignant tumor of delusion before it can spread and kill all potential for growth. It is a form of brutal mercy, forcing a direct and unavoidable confrontation with reality. While some will inevitably recoil in hatred from this level of honesty, and others will flee from the sheer discomfort of it, the rare few who are capable of bearing the weight of unfiltered truth will recognize it for what it truly is, the ultimate form of respect. He refuses to be complicit in anyone's downfall, and that refusal starts with being unwilling to participate in their self-deception. This isn't just some abstract theory playing out on your screen for your entertainment. That tightening you feel in your chest right now, that quiet simmering of discontent that lies just beneath your calm exterior, that is the sound of the tectonic plates of your own untapped potential grinding against one another, preparing for a monumental shift. You've spent your life navigating the world, adapting to its currents and surviving its challenges. But survival is merely the baseline, the starting point. The question that is now burning within you, the very question that brought you here to this channel, is this: is navigating the storm going to be enough for you? Or is it finally time to become the storm? Is it time to stop reacting to the world and start dictating the terms of your own existence? That quiet fury you feel isn't a flaw in your character. It's the precursor to your own savage mode. You must recognize the shift that is happening within. This channel isn't just here to show you a path. It's here to hold up a mirror, to reflect the immense power that you already hold, a power that is simply waiting for your command to be unleashed. The pivot point is now. What manifests next in your life depends entirely on which version of yourself you choose to arm. 6. The currency of earned value. Savage Mode institutes a ruthless and uncompromising meritocracy in every aspect of his life. Every interaction he has, every ounce of his precious energy, every single second of his finite time becomes a tightly controlled currency, invested with purpose and precision. The pervasive stench of entitlement that plagues modern society evaporates on contact with him. If you bring genuine, demonstrable value to the table, be it unwavering loyalty, sharp intelligence, relentless effort, or a valuable skill, you will receive his focused engagement, his potent support, and his profound respect in an equal and powerful measure. It is a high-stakes exchange, a transaction between sovereigns where value is traded for value. Conversely, if you bring nothing to the table but demands, excuses, or emotional baggage, you can expect to receive absolute zero in return. There will be no lengthy explanations, no dramatic warnings, and no lingering ghosts of past obligations. His attention will withdraw from you like a retreating tide, silent and final. The access you once had to his time and mind will be revoked. The energy that he may have once freely given will simply cease to exist in your presence. This radical recalibration is not an act of personal vengeance or petty score settling. It is the cold, logical, and efficient allocation of finite resources by a mind that is operating at maximum strategic capacity. The silence that follows is not a sign of distance. It is the definitive sound of a door closing forever on unearned privilege. Is it fair? Absolutely. Is it forgiving? Never. 7. Unapologetic intelligence unleashed. The self-imposed muzzle that he wore for the sake of social harmony finally comes off. Savage Mode liberates his raw, unfiltered cognitive firepower, and he no longer feels the need to constrain it. There is no more dumbing himself down in conversations to make others feel comfortable. There is no more sugarcoating his observations to protect fragile sensibilities. There is no more pretending not to see the glaring flaws in logic, the transparent emotional manipulation, or the deep-seated character defects that are dancing right before his eyes. He begins to speak with a devastating clarity, dissecting weak arguments and exposing the hidden agendas behind them with the same ease and naturalness as breathing. Conversations with him become minefields for the unprepared, the intellectually lazy, and the disingenuous. This is not an act of intellectual grandstanding or a desperate need to prove how smart he is. It is the natural consequence of his refusal to continue inhabiting a diminished and intellectually dishonest reality. His mind, finally operating without filters, becomes like an X-ray machine, revealing the brittle and hollow structures of ego and deception that other people hide behind. The intense discomfort that this causes in others is not his concern. It is simply the inevitable side effect of illuminating dark shadows with the bright light of reason. Those who are operating on his level, those who value truth above comfort, will thrive in this new atmosphere of sharp, incisive honesty. Those who cannot handle the high voltage of unvarnished reality will either self-destruct in a blaze of defensive anger or they will simply vanish from his life, clearing the path for progress that is unimpeded by fragility. 8. The Impenetrable Fortress. Savage mode is the process by which he forges an existence that is beyond the reach of conventional attack vectors. All attempts to control him become utterly impossible. He cultivates a state of radical self-containment, becoming mentally unshakable, financially independent, and emotionally sovereign. The common tools of social manipulation lose all their power when used against him. Guilt trips snap like dry twigs against the bedrock of his self-assurance. Bribes and offers of unearned status are met with a quiet contempt. Pressure tactics, threats, and emotional blackmail encounter a solid wall of absolute, unyielding indifference. The simple truth is that he needs nothing that you can offer him, which makes him utterly immune to coercion in any form. His predictability dies a sudden death. He deliberately shatters his expected patterns of behavior, moving with a calculated randomness that keeps his adversaries perpetually off balance and unable to anticipate his next move. Is his silence a sign of observation, or is he preparing to strike? Is he retreating to gather his strength, or is he luring you into a trap? Any attempts to break him through loss, betrayal, or failure will backfire in a spectacular fashion. These events are no longer registered as setbacks. They are seen as pressure, the very force that forges diamonds from carbon. They forge greater resilience, sharper instincts, and a colder, more resolute will to succeed. He learns to absorb the chaos of the world and convert it into pure, unassailable power. Testing him will only serve to reveal your own weakness when measured against his impenetrable will. 9. Operating beyond comprehension. While the masses are hopelessly addicted to chasing fleeting dopamine hits from social media and feeding on the empty calories of gossip-fueled validation, the Sigma in savage mode catapults himself onto an entirely different plane of existence. His actions are no longer reactions to external stimuli, they are deliberate, calculated moves in a long game that only he can fully see. What might look to an outsider like an isolated, impulsive, or even reckless decision is, in reality, a critical step in a grand blueprint that he drafted for himself years prior. He builds elegant solutions to complex problems and constructs his success from angles that other people don't even have the capacity to perceive, let alone understand. The desperate, needy search for external validation is replaced by silent, relentless, and focused construction. He is busy engineering new realities for himself while others are hopelessly distracted by the noise and drama of the digital circus. The apparent recklessness or confusion that seems to surround his moves is merely the visible gap between his extraordinary foresight and their severely limited perception. By the time the mundane world finally manages to decipher his previous actions, the wealth he has quietly accrued, the power he has consolidated, the absolute freedom he has manifested, he has already vaulted to the next tier of his own game, leaving behind only the faded blueprint of a strategy that was executed flawlessly in the shadows. Don't waste your time trying to figure him out. Just know that his success was preordained while you were busy scrolling. 10. Becoming the unstoppable storm. The mindset of mere survival is abandoned for the pursuit of absolute sovereignty. He makes a conscious decision to stop weaving his way through the chaos of the world and instead decides to generate chaos on his own terms. He is no longer playing a defensive game, reacting to the moves of others. He goes on the offensive, dictating the rules of engagement, setting the pace of play, and shaping the very environment in which he operates. His presence alone begins to warp the gravitational field of any situation he enters. Those who once underestimated him now scramble to get out of his way. The manipulators and social climbers find their intricate webs of deceit tangling hopelessly around themselves. This is not a display of blind, uncontrolled rage. It is the application of controlled, directed, and overwhelming force. Every calculated action he takes is designed to reshape the landscape to his distinct advantage. Any resistance he encounters is not met with direct conflict, but is instead rendered completely obsolete by the sheer, unstoppable momentum of his advance. He becomes a force of nature that compels evolution or guarantees obsolescence for everything in his path. Clinging to comfortable routines and outdated beliefs becomes a death wish in the face of his transformative power. You learn very quickly that you do not fight this kind of storm. You either adapt to the new climate it creates, or you get buried in the debris of the old world it has swept away. There is no return to the quiet navigation of the past once you have become the storm itself. 11. Fragile egos, from protected to pulverized. The delicate and exhausting dance of preserving the self-delusions of others comes to an abrupt and violent end. In savage mode, the Sigma male transforms into a wrecking ball for fragile egos. He completely stops enabling the endless excuses that people use to justify their mediocrity. He ceases to tolerate inflated self-importance and refuses to play along with the carefully constructed facades of competence that people erect around themselves. If you are faking it, he will expose it with cold, hard facts. If you are drowning in a sea of denial, he will be the one to forcibly shove your head above the water so you can gasp the cold, sharp air of reality. This shattering of egos is not an act of cruelty for its own sake. It is the necessary demolition that must take place before anything real and substantial can be built. In a world that is saturated with fawning yes-men and the hollow poison of unearned validation, he becomes the indispensable, albeit uncomfortable, voice of raw, unadulterated truth. The hatred and avoidance that this provokes in the weak are badges of honor to him, irrefutable proof that he is disrupting the comfortable stagnation that they call a life. For the rare individuals who are strong enough to handle it, this brutal honesty is the highest and purest form of respect, and it is the only kind of respect he is willing to offer when he is in this mode. He breaks the fragile in order to liberate the potentially strong. The message is simple: wake up or get left behind in the dust of your own shattered illusions. The fire you feel right now is not just inspiration, it is recognition. You've listened and something deep within you has answered the call. What we've discussed today isn't a fantasy, it's a dormant capability, a gear that you have yet to engage. Going savage mode is not about becoming a monster, it is about awakening the disciplined, strategic, and unapologetically potent man you were always meant to be. It's about shedding the weight of other people's expectations and finally, completely, and utterly betting on yourself. This is the path of the Sigma male. This is the journey we explore here at the Sigma male community. Your journey of self-mastery requires a guide that understands the terrain. If what you heard today resonated with the truth in your own heart, then your next move is clear. Don't just watch the storm, become it. Like this video to signal your understanding. Comment below with your own moment of clarity. Share this with another man who is ready to awaken his own power. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because our work here is far from over. This is not just a channel, it is an arsenal for the mind. Stay sharp. Stay sovereign. And we will see you in the next one.